go.
Thousands of people are surrounding you.
You have this little gap in your stomach.
Butterflies. This is when I have the most nervous tension, the moment where I'm the most nervous.
You can't wait for them to let you go. And
it's kind of nerve-wracking.
You're thinking about how do I get through the first corner.
Focus on the racetrack.
You just want to beat everybody out.
It's a good beginning for a great battle.
All those emotions and more are about to unfold in the land of the rising sun. Speed Channel and Championship Auto Racing teams are proud to welcome you to round 3 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series for 2002, the Bridgestone Potenza 500. Hello everyone, I'm Bob Barsha with Tommy Kettle and Scott Pruitt. First oval track race of the kart season. Let's get right to the pit lane and Derek Daly.
The cars are about to pull out. Have a look at the grandstand behind me, jam-packed. However, there are still some seats available. But don't forget, right now this is the largest crowd ever to come here to Motegi. The reason there isn't more people in, they didn't anticipate how good the weather would be, and they are jam-packed on the one road that leads into Motegi. So for the next hour, they're still going to be coming in here.
Thanks, Double D. Well, I think the team and driver who wins here today in Motegi will have to be absolutely mistake-free. What the officials have done here, they've extended the pit lane speed limit area all the way down pit lane, of course, and then all the way around to turn 2. And that means that the teams have calculated, even without any servicing, they'll be in pit lane for almost 70 seconds under that speed limit. So if they make a mistake either on the racetrack or a pit lane infraction, have to do a drive-through, that's going to dig them a big hole to try and get out of today.
All right, thank you, guys. Here's a closer look at Twin Ring Motegi. If you've been with us all weekend, you know this is not one of those ovals where you pop it up into high gear and stand on it all day, Scott.
And these guys love this track. Very, very fast 1 and 2, but they have to brake and actually downshift in 3 and 4. They can go side by side all the way through 1 and 2, which is actually set a guy up getting down into 3, set him up, get him coming off 4.
Here's a look at our race analysis. 201 laps of this 1.548-mile oval. Total of 311 miles or 500 kilometers. The mandatory pit window is 38 laps. That's as far as you may go on a load of fuel. Number of pit stops expected, a minimum of 5, with 11 laps remaining to involve in your pit strategy. As Calvin mentioned, a 50-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit, and it is a very long pit lane here.
That will totally dictate race strategy because you cannot afford to get out of sequence. Jimmy said you might see guys out of sequence. It will not happen under green because that's too big a penalty to come back from if you get a caution.
Okay, quickly, gentlemen. Derek Daly picks Bruno Junqueira to win. Calvin Fish likes Tony Kanaan. Who do you like?
I have to go with Paul Tracy. I'll tell you what, him at the sharp end of the grid and really has a bounce in his step with that new Lola.
I think Bruno's going to be tough, but I still got to go with PT. If Bruno makes it to the end, I think he's going to be tough for a while, but I got to go with PT. He's just shown so much speed coming out of the box with that Lola.
For myself, I like Jimmy Vasser. I think he had everything he needed to win in Long Beach 2 weeks ago. I don't think he's going to make a mistake today. He's running for Team Rahal. They won 4 oval races on the schedule last year, including this one. I'm going to pick Jimmy Vasser in the shell car with Ford power to keep Ford's winning streak alive. 4 previous races here at Twin Ring Motegi, Ford-powered cars have won all 4 times. Now as the field makes its way around, here is Tora Takagi's Toyota-powered machine with Walker Racing. Here is our starting grid. On the pole, for the 2nd time in his career, Bruno Junqueira starting alongside fellow Brazilian Tony Kanaan, who was the quickest man in the morning warm-up. On row 2 will be Paul Tracy, who was the last man to go out in qualifying, but says he left something on the racetrack in turns 3 and 4 and missed an opportunity for pole. He'll be starting alongside Kenny Breck. On row 3, Tracy's teammate Dario Franchitti alongside Canadian Patrick Carpentier. On row 4, Michael Andretti, the winner 2 weeks ago in Long Beach, and the series points leader, Cristiano D'Amata, with his new haircut, hopefully to give him some extra speed today. On row 5, my pick, Jimmy Vasser, will start alongside rookie Townsend Bell. On row 6, Tora Takagi, one of 2 Japanese drivers racing in front of a massive crowd of their countrymen today. Alongside will be Canadian Alex Tagliani. On row 7, Michel Jourdain Jr. having the best start in his 7-season career in the Champ Cars. He'll be alongside Adrian Fernandez, who has simply had a miserable weekend thus far. On row 8 will be Scott Dixon from New Zealand, last year's Jim Truman Rookie of the Year. He'll be alongside Christian Fittipaldi, who did not qualify well for the Newman Haas team. On row 9, Mad Max Pappas, coming off a third-place finish in Long Beach 2 weeks ago. He'll be alongside Shinji Nakano. And on the 10th and final row, rookie Mario Dominguez of Mexico and Spaniard Oriol Servia. Cars continue to make their way around as the fans wave their flags from the grandstands. The Japanese have an interesting way of supporting their favorite teams in sporting events. They wave flags and beat on drums. To our onboard cameras, you're riding with Townsend Bell in the Vistion entry for Pat Patrick Racing. Now on board with Dario Franchitti wearing our visor view cam. And once again, back on board at the back of Tora Takagi's car.
This is also going to be a big race for Cristiano D'Amato. You know, they've said openly they've had a big struggle in testing, so let's see what they can do today.
A beautiful racetrack, a beautiful day for a race. The field forming up. Looks like Junqueira made a bit of a jump right there, but now he falls back into line. Flagman Jim Swintal eyes them off the final corner. He has the green flag in his hand. He waves it, and we're underway at Twin Ring Motegi for 500 kilometers.
Big move for Tony. Tony going right out the outside right away.
You heard him say in the pre-race, it's not important who leads the first lap, but he went Buffalo Boy right around the outside, and he wants to lead lap 1.
Look at all the shuffling going on behind. Very wide, very smooth, except for that patch on the left of your screen. Very bumpy right there, heading into turn 3.
Looks like Kenny Brack made his way by teammate Bruno Junqueira.
So Brack, the defending Bridgestone Potenza 500 champion, on the move. He is second behind Kanan, then Junqueira, and the players' cars coming forward.
Tracy making a big move.
That's on Carpentier.
That was tight.
He's all the way up alongside, and now they have mandated the use of spotters. If you don't have a spotter, you'll be fine. So that probably came into play there with Carpentier being told outside.
Riding along with Dario Franchitti. That picture on the hub of his steering wheel is Mr. Michihiro Asaka, Vice President of Honda Performance Development. Those photos were distributed to all the Honda drivers. They chose where they wanted to carry them in this race.
Good shot on board with Townsend Bell. Behind Cristiano D'Amato.
Started 10th. He's moved up 1 spot to 9th.
Downshifts twice. You saw that.
You could hear when he put it in a top gear there that the rev drop is only probably 300 or 400 RPMs. They stack the top gears really close because of the draft. It's different when you're in a draft or by yourself. And here comes Tora looking inside.
We had a quick look at the lead opened up by Tony Kanaan before we went on board with Tora Takagi. Driving for Walker Racing. It was announced this weekend that Derek Walker has purchased the assets of Reynard North America, the car builder that's gone into receivership in England. But there is a story developing there that may wind up in the courts. A British investor has bought the UK operation for Reynard. We're not sure who gets what.
You saw Townsend there. It's hard to tell from this view, but he was protecting the inside going into turn 3. Tora took a quick look to the outside. There's no way to get around the outside going into turn 3, is there, Scott?
No way.
There's Tony Kanaan, who's been fast all weekend.
He's really stretching it out, too. This would be big for Honda, for Pioneer, 2 Japanese companies. This win would be big. He's very confident with the car. Been very fast all weekend long.
Well, the new race rules, these fueling windows are aimed at putting the races back in the hands of the guys who run quickly. And so here with the long extended 50-mile, here comes PT continuing to bring his way forward, getting underneath Breck.
Tracy is already past Junqueira, looking at second place Kenny Breck ahead.
He's on his way.
He is on his way. He's in a hurry, too.
Remember, they had an engine change this morning after the warm-up. He's driving the Lola. He also had a Reynard at his disposal this weekend. He put in a good lap on Thursday practice, but then decided he wanted to try the Lola, turned in an even faster lap, and he likes the car better, so he's using the Lola today.
Taking a big loop up the inside there.
That's commitment right there, I'll tell you. He set that up in the middle of 2. He's starting to work the high groove, able to keep some air on those wings, and was able to come off 2 quicker. And now Junqueira capitalizes on Brack having to, Chip Ganassi's heart's in his throat right now.
Easy, boys. That's the thing these guys love about this track. They can go side by side down through 1 and 2. They can get a good run down the back straight, out deep them down into 3, and if a guy gets a little caught up just like that, can take the look up underneath him coming off forward. Exactly what Junqueira did.
FedEx running order across the top of your screen, measuring last lap speed. It's going to be hard to keep up with these laps going down at 25, 26 seconds each. Now Michael Andretti going wheel to wheel with Dario Franchitti. Turns 1 and 2 were repaved during the offseason. The drivers say they are very, very smooth, flat out in 1 and 2.
Now this is going to be real interesting. You know, Dario decided to stay with the Reynard because of consistency, all the miles that they have. It'll be interesting to see how it plays off with the other 2 Lolas.
He also mentioned reliability. And given that left rear wheel hub problem that his teammate Paul Tracy had in practice, that might be a good decision.
That's an interesting thing. You have both sides pointing the finger back at each other. Lola's saying it's a team assembly problem. The teams are saying it's the 0-2 upright. Target Chip Ganassi's stayed with the 0-1, as has Newman Haas. Team Cool Green tried to, but could not get enough parts. So they're running that 0-2 upright where the bearing is a little bit iffy, apparently.
Let's listen in as Franchitti drives. Quick look down.
See him resting his hand there, giving his left hand a little bit of a break. You know, if you're not careful and you're not conscious of it, you can hold on to that steering wheel so tight you'll be worn out in a hurry.
Straightaways are nearly a half-mile long, but you eat them up in a hurry at 220 miles an hour. You can see the crowd in the grandstands all the way around this beautiful racetrack. Tony Kanaan is your leader with 11 laps of 201 anticipated. Currently in the books. We'll be back with more from Twin Ring Motegi and the Bridgestone Potenza 500 here on Speed Channel. Ring Motegi, I'm Bob Marshall with Tommy Kendall and Scott Pruitt in the booth. Derek Daly and Calvin Fish in the pit lane, and action on the racetrack. It's Mario Dominguez leaving Adrian Fernandez in the Tecate car. Fernandez has had a brutal weekend. They could not get the car to run well, and those problems continue.
They had a problem with the weight jacker earlier in the weekend, which helps, you know, keep up with the car over changing track conditions, and basically disconnected the weight jacker. And we're hearing early in the race he complained about a possible explosion, maybe a plenum problem, robbed him of his power. Now it looks like he's back up to speed, but he's not having a good weekend at all. Here's his teammate going by him on the inside.
Shinji Nakano. No action on the shift lever on the straightaways. But he'll either shift up or down when he gets to the corners.
When I say plenum explosion, there's been a lot of plenum explosions in the past where it blows it right through the engine cover. Obviously that didn't happen, but he complained of what sounded like an explosion behind it.
He's currently running 19th is Fernandez.
They're also getting some news that Jimmy might be having some problems.
Jimmy Vasser.
I heard that on the radio.
Now lap 11 here, back to what I said earlier in terms of the rules aimed at getting the guys back out, the emphasis back on speed. And so it still comes down to how do you do that? So the key word is, as our president would say, strategery. Who has the best strategery? So, but you will not see guys. I worked in my hotel last night for a couple hours trying to come up with a getting out of sequence under green. You cannot make it work with that long extended pit lane. So it will all, the only time you will stop under green will be when you have to, mandated by that 38 lap window.
One guy obeying the command to roll is Tony Kanaan, who continues to extend his lead. There is Tracy.
Tracy just called in, heard on the radio, my car is good, real good. He is moving to the front. That's exactly right. He is so happy with this new Lola. I think we're going to see big things from him all season long.
This 1.5 mile track length is just terrific for these champ cars. They look so fast around this place, and consider a lap capturing pole at 215 miles an hour average speed, so a little bit lower than that going into 1 and a lot faster than that heading down to 3.
The greatest thing about it is kind of the pinch nature where 3 and 4 is so much tighter. 3 and 4 is a really tough corner. There's 1 or 2 downshifts, brakes, all that, how you get through the center of the corner. But 1 and 2 is flat out with 2 grooves. So you spend all that time trying to set up a pass, and it really, now that they've got some downforce and less turbulence back with this wing package, it's obvious that these guys can get around someone if they're quicker.
I must admit, I don't know why Honda chose the particular dimensions for this racetrack they lavished so much money on. It's as though they went to the United States looking for oval tracks and went to Gateway and Darlington and decided, okay, that's what an oval's supposed to look like. We'll do it.
I think talking to a lot of the guys, a lot of the drivers, they like these type of tracks. And we went to, I know that Rio's a lot different, but where you actually do something more than just stand on the gas on these ovals. It puts the driving back into their hands.
Fastest lap of the race for Paul Tracy, and a quick look at Bruno Junqueira, our pole sitter, who has consolidated 3rd place for the moment. There's Mario Dominguez, followed by the 2 PWR cars. Former Pac West team. We're hearing that this team is having money problems. desperately looking for some funding. Oriol Servia and Scott Dixon, last year's Rookie of the Year.
And both these guys are real talents too. This would be very unfortunate for Cart and especially for the whole team.
There were a number of people trying to buy Scott Dixon's contract during the offseason. He was very, very highly touted.
Back to Tony Kanaan in the Pioneer car.
Now, the window has opened up, so if a yellow comes out, these guys will be coming in for the pit stop strategy for what they have to do. Lap 11 opens up, but they will not pit if it's green. They'll probably go all the way to 38.
Now they come into traffic. You'll see PT try to capitalize on this. Tony's catching him at what looks like a pretty good spot.
On board with Townsend Bell. That's Fernandez. Here we are working lap number 17, and he's been caught by the race leaders already. Not good news for the only owner driver in the series, and only the third in kart history, following the late Tony Bettenhausen and, of course, Bobby Rahal.
Here comes Paul.
It's interesting, as he pulled up behind Fernandez, Kanaan just seemed to ease up that little bit. I wonder if that's aerodynamic effect. These cars moved from the big barn door Hanford Mark II device they raced a year ago here at Motegi to the much more sleek wing package they used in the European oval races in Germany and England last year. The drivers love the change. They say they can get much closer to the car ahead, which should promote passing. Finally, Kanaan goes underneath Fernandez and leaves that task to Paul Tracy, charging from second. We've got another break coming up as Kanaan continues to work traffic. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi in Japan in the Bridgestone Potenza 500 here on Speed Channel. To the right of your screen, race leader Tony Kanaan is overtaking Christian Fittipaldi, who's been having a difficult time this weekend. For that matter, his teammate Tony Kanaan, the series points leader coming in, also appears to be having problems finding speed on this 1.5 mile oval. You ride with Dario Franchitti from Team Cool Green. Let's get down to the pit lane. His car owner, as well as that of Paul Tracy, is standing by with Calvin Fish.
Well, Barry Green watches the progress of Paul Tracy. You lost the warm-up, essentially, Barry, but Paul's done a great job there in this opening stint. How's the car's balance?
You know, his report, he says it's really good. So hopefully we can keep the balance. It's still very early in the race. Long race, Calvin. So at the moment, he's really happy. I think he's as quick as anyone out there, so we'll see.
What about the strategy, Barry? You say it's a long race. How patient does Paul need to be
well,
in the opening half of the race?
Yeah, we talked about patience, and that, you know, that's the problem with Paul. He gets very racy, but he's acting real good, sensible right now. About 10 laps away from a pit stop, so we'll see.
All right, mate. Thanks a lot.
One very busy man is Barry Green, with 3 teams to look after.
Townsend Bell with a nice move on Kenny Brack at the end, going into turn 3.
I wonder if there's a problem for Brack. He was very quick on full tanks at the beginning of the race. Bell is another aggressive racer in the Paul Tracy mode.
Had a few little problems. Too many bumps the last, you know, right out of the box down in Mexico, and then another one down at over in Long Beach. And
back off my boy there.
You Southern California guys.
Looks like Brack's having some sort of problem. Seems like he's really starting to fall off the pace.
That's Tagliani in the Players Forsyth car coming up behind him. It's another team that's been up and down all weekend. Tagliani spun in Thursday's second practice session. Oh, he just motors under Brack, the defending race champion.
I expect some big things today from the Players team. These guys are very solid on the ovals. That and Ford also seems like they've done a tremendous job with their consistency of the engine package we've seen for the last 4 years here.
Qualifying, there wasn't much to choose between Reynard and Lola, and I'm a little bit surprised. I thought the race would kind of show that difference where downforce is really premium, and if you listen to everybody, that's what they talk about with the Lola. But you have Kanaan and Tagliani looking good in Reynards. They know those things inside and out. But the question is, do they have enough speed? And right now, it looks like they do.
As you see, 31 laps in. First round of pit stops expected at lap 38. Thus far, no one has chosen to short stop early on. Now that we're more than 11 laps in, it's unlikely anyone would.
I'll guarantee you right now, there's a good Kanaan just motor into the front.
And he's
I mean,
going
he's
around.
just-
That's the other team Rahal car. That was Michel Jourdain Jr. The Rahal team dominated this race a year ago, but we saw Jimmy Vasser. We heard Jimmy Vasser is having problems. And now we see the race leader rocketing past the other Rahal car, Michel Jourdain in the Gigante machine.
We talked about some of the Chargers, Townsend Bell, Tony and Scott Dixon being in demand among team owners. Chip Ganassi tried to buy the contract of Tony Kanaan, and this is why. When he has the right package, he is just very, very aggressive, a real Charger, tremendous attitude.
And he's just set fast lap of the race thus far.
I'm happy to see that track position is not a factor at all. If you're faster, you can get by people. And what that means is you don't have any guys saving fuel. If you get a one-groove racetrack, even with the new rules, you would have guys saving fuel so they have shorter stops.
Oh, back
Careful
up.
here. Mario Dominguez up high. Cristiano D'Amata in the black Haviland car with Tony Kanaan right there looking for a way by.
This is where you talk about patience. That was a pretty aggressive move for the start of the race.
Cristiano D'Amata in 13th place. So you can be sure he's looking for that first pit stop and making some changes on the car.
I was a little surprised to hear him in the warm-up, because in warm-up he was second quickest, but in the pre-race he still was expressing a lot of doubt about their race setup, and it looks like it was well-founded.
Well, as Derek Daly mentioned earlier, it is a bright sunny day. We've not had consistent sunshine through both days of practice and qualifying here at Twin Ring Motegi, so I wonder if somebody didn't just miss on the setup as the sunshine warms the track. Pit stop's coming. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Bridgestone Potenza 500. Third round in the Kart FedEx Championship Series for 2002, and our two race-leading cars, Tony Kanaan and Paul Tracy, are headed for their first pit stops.
And this is exactly where the teams make the difference. Talk about teamwork. This is where all these guys have to have it come together.
Down to the 50-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit. And as we mentioned at the top of the program, they'll be there for a long time. That's Tracy on the bottom, Kanaan on the top. Calvin Fish awaits the stops.
Tony Kanaan pulls his Reynard into his pit spot. Perfect stop for the boys. Right behind him is Paul Tracy. They're running 1 and 2 on the racetrack. They're 1 and 2 in pit lane right now. Tire stop is completed. This is a pretty full load. Full load of fuel. Kanaan, and he just beats Tracy out as a drag race down pit lane.
A 50-mile-an-hour drag race. Now what happens? We'll go all the way around to the exit to turn 2 at this speed.
Who says these guys don't race wheel to wheel?
Now, you got to remember, this has happened because of what happened with Alex Zanardi.
That's right, in Germany last year, that savage crash.
Now, who's going to get the jump?
Now they're racing. There's a mark over here. I believe there's a blue cone. We might not be able to see it in the shot, where they will release that electronic speed limit. The shorter radius. There it goes.
Well, looks like Kanaan went for the jump, but Tracy faster on the gas and takes the position ahead of Kanaan. Let's see if he can hold it.
That's got to be really odd with their heart. And look at this pack.
Ooh.
Takagi, one of the players' cars, Bell, and Dario.
More of the same on those pit lane speed limiters. On board with Bell.
And these guys are coming out on cold tires. It'll take just a little bit for them to settle in, bring up the tire pressures.
All of the front-running cars, well, all of the cars, period, came in on lap 38, as they must under the mandatory pit rules.
Was Dario going underneath Townsend?
Whoa, Jimmy Vasser.
Big fire.
Wow, that one is going.
That's at the turn 3 overpass where the road course here at Twin Ring Motegi enters and exits the racetrack.
That was on the pit exit. Everybody stopped on lap 38, so on his way out, something, maybe some spilled methanol.
I wonder if something happened during the pit stop. Looks like some kind of fitting maybe came loose. The dark smoke means there's more than just fuel burning on that car. It's under control. We'll take a break and return to see if we can find out what happened to Jimmy Vasser.
Well, Mark Johnson is overseeing Jimmy's car here. Mark, we saw the smoke. What happened out there to Jimmy?
I don't know, Calvin. It just looks like we had a problem with the Buckeye. It was spewing fuel out as we left the pit. We were trying to get him back in, but obviously he couldn't make it. It caught fire down in turn 1. He's out of the car, and he's just fine. So that's the important thing. We'll just get it back and take a look at it and see what went wrong.
Tough day for Team Rahal. They had a great run there at Long Beach. DNF'd in the first round at Monterey. Another one here today for Jimmy Vasser, who we expected to be a championship contender, guys.
Yes, we did. 3 races, 2 DNFs for Jimmy Vasser, and nobody need remind me my pre-race pick to win here in Motegi.
What a frustrating day.
We have a full course yellow out. No word yet as to when we will resume. Here comes Kenny Brack in. We saw him slowing 10 to 12 laps before it came time for the pit stop, so I wonder if there's a problem on the target car.
Could be that, or it could be this is one of the only ways you can get out of sequence. You can get out of sequence on yellow. What this would do is it would extend your window, hoping that you get a yellow between when the leaders pit or the people that stay out pit, and you have to come in with your new extended window. That's the only way I can figure out that you could get out of sequence and maybe have it work out in your favor.
That's a good point. This may be deliberate to get ahead later on.
A lot of these guys taking gambles here. This is the new aspect of car, to be able to play these different gambles like this.
And the way I look at it, it's not a big gamble because track position is not that important. You're at the back of the queue, but if you're quick, you can get back up there. So as long as you get...
Oh, a plume of smoke there from Tora Takagi. Meanwhile, let's get back to the pits and Derek Daly.
Dario Franchitti also going to take advantage of this yellow flag situation. Going to watch very closely to see, do they adjust the car? It looks normal so far. You hear the revs. Trying to race his teammate Mike like Redding, almost stalled the thing and still hasn't got it to run properly yet. Dario Franchitti very, very slow down this pit lane and finally gets it to run.
Wow, a lot of problems there getting out of pits. That's going to cost him a lot.
And look, they're still under the speed limit, and they've gone back to green. So either they didn't know that it was going to go back to green that time, or they forgot about how long the pit exit speed limit goes.
You wouldn't come in that late, would you?
No, you wouldn't. That's a good strategy to extend your window, but it might catch them out depending on if they can get out here and get up to speed before the leader comes. And look, Dario's going to get lapped right now.
That's Franchitti down low as his teammate, the race leader Paul Tracy, comes up behind him. Gently, boys.
Can be very costly for Dario.
And there's really nothing Paul Tracy can do here because he's got Tony Kanaan right there all over the back of him.
That's exactly right. Side by side. This is one thing these guys love about this track. It is side by side racing through 1 and 2.
I'm not sure that's what Paul Tracy is loving right now, racing his teammate while he's in the lead and Franchitti's a lap down. Tough break for the Scotsman.
Well, if he's got the speed, I think Tracy will work with him.
Here's Dario's nose to the right of your screen. If you look closely, you may be able to see his eyelashes. We've been having a lot of fun with this visor view cam all weekend here at Motegi.
There's Tony Kanaan going down the inside. Exiting turn 2, going down the back straight. Now it's interesting, they go down 2 gears, going down into 3. Shift up once, going down into 1, and then another time, upshift going down into turn 4, about halfway between 2 and 3.
Love that visor view camera. You'll only see it here on Speed Channel. We've got more little tricks in the pipeline, so stay with us all season long. Now, what does Dario Franchitti have to hope happens now for him to get back on terms?
Well, the only thing that happens is if that extra few laps of window that he has, if there's a yellow in that time and he's able to come around and then get another yellow shortly thereafter, he can get back on, but that's a lot to ask for.
Paul Tracy leads Tony Kanaan. 38 laps to the next stop for the front runners. Good race for Kanaan. First 2 races of the season have produced 2 DNFs for the Brazilian. He would dearly love to score his first points of the season here. Let's get down to Calvin now with Jimmy Vasser.
Well, Jimmy V has made his way back to the pit lane. He's talking to the crew right now. Jimmy, what happened on the pit stop? Were you aware of a problem?
Yeah, I was the first one to see it. I left, and I looked in my rearview mirror to see who was coming down behind me, and I was blowing fuel about that far out of the Buckeye. And I told him, I said, I'm blowing fuel. I didn't really reply, and I was going to bring it back in, or hopefully maybe the Buckeye would set, close, and stop it. But it didn't stop, and then it fired up, and it was flaming out. It caught fire in the back, and then the flames started rushing up to where it's blowing out. I thought,
time to get out, right?
I got flames on my helmet, but that's not what kind of flames I want, so I parked it there. It was just blowing fuel and firing, and it's time for me to leave this deal.
Tough to see Jimmy V out of this one. He hoped to get some points here today in Japan, but one of the Ford runners is out at least at this stage. Let's see what the other boys can do.
All right, thank you, Calvin. A long way to our next round, the Miller Lite 250 on the Milwaukee Mile, the weekend of June 2nd. In the meantime, as many as 8 of these CART FedEx Championship Series drivers will attempt to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 on Memorial Day weekend. This is the battle up front.
Tony has closed that gap right back down. He's right up on top of Paul.
One of the guys just announced is Max Pappas going to the 500 and having a great run here today. He's all the way up to 7th. These guys have not had any testing coming into this race, any oval testing coming in this weekend. A little tough getting out of the box, but now they have a good solid run.
In fact, they brought just one chassis to the race this weekend. Run what you brung for the new Sigma Autosport team.
Looked like Tracy pushed up a little bit in 1 and 2, and Tony was able to take a little bit tighter line and really closed up down the back straightaway. 1 and 2 is supposed to be flat out. I heard on board with Dario a little, like, probably 1/8 lift, just a teeny crack right in the center of the corner. But with fresh tires, you can probably drive right through that. But if the front end starts taking off on you, you can keep your foot in it, use up some more track, but it really gets a lot of scrub going, doesn't it, Scott?
Especially, you know, thinking about how long it is from the time you exit 4 to get around into turn 3. It's a lot of time. You got to get through 3 and 4 very, very good. And if you don't, you're just going to get caught up. That time it looked like he got a lot better. And see, Tony wasn't able to catch back up to him.
So those dark patches on the front straightaway. They also run drag racing shows here at Twin Ring Motegi using the front straightaway.
Is that blown Hemi Civics?
I guess you can't call it an import series over here, can you? On board with Townsend Bell. Joined by Shinji Nakano, wearing Twin Ring Motegi sponsorship this weekend. That is not Townsend.
That's Tora.
Takagi.
Currently running 5th, highest of the Japanese boys.
I think Shinji summed it up in his interview when he said this is a very big lace.
That'll be enough. Thank you, TK. Mario Dominguez, the rookie.
3 wide down into 1.
Cristiano D'Amato just
Oh!
They did
Wow.
This is for the lead. Kanan underneath. I think he put another O in cool on the side pod of Paul Tracy's car there.
Paul battled back on the outside.
That was, I don't know if they touched, but he couldn't have slid a piece of paper between those two boys.
250 miles an hour. What's up,
Well,
Tony?
look who's right there as well. Bruno Junqueira now moving up into this battle for the lead.
Paul and Tony fighting up front, slowed him down a little bit. Looks like Bruno's catching up. That looks like a familiar face.
Looks like the guy staring out of Dario's steering wheel. Since we know they're not opposed to giving a little bit of love, I want my picture on the steering wheel. Now that the bar has been set, if you want to have me blow smoke at you for the rest of the season from the broadcast booth, I want to be on your steering wheel and show on the inside.
Dario Franchitti's married to Ashley Judd, and he has a picture of Mr. Osaka-san on the steering wheel hub. What's wrong with this?
Mikey's
picture?
getting ready to go a lap down.
There's your Long Beach winner, Michael Andretti. In that unfamiliar Lola, but they had enough confidence in the car that they chose to bring 2 of them for Michael. He did not have a Reynard to switch to.
Unlike the Mata. Oh, here's Bruno getting underneath.
He got caught up. Tony got caught up a little bit behind Michael getting down in there, and you saw, we talked about that earlier. Got slowed down just a little bit. Bruno got underneath him coming off turn 4.
Tony kept his boot in it. Bruno had to pinch it a little bit coming off. Tony was able to keep the revs and the boost up a little bit higher, but look at this battle.
Now Bruno, I think, is looking very cautious, which we haven't seen from him in the last couple races. This could pay off for him at the end.
Maybe not having Chip screaming in his ear has settled him down a little bit. Chip's not here this weekend.
Chip Ganassi, the owner of Target Chip Ganassi Racing. They are once again this year making
a replay.
Yep, replay.
Do they touch?
Wow. So close. We'll be right back to Twin Ring. Welcome back. Not quite 1/3 of the way through the Bridgestone Potenza 500 here at Twin Ring Motegi. Round 3 of the CART FedEx Championship Series for 2002. Paul Tracy leads Tony Kanaan, but our pole sitter Bruno Junqueira is right there. Be sure to watch the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix from Barcelona here on Speed Channel. Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Peter Windsor will kick things off with all the news from the paddock, then the race itself. Speed Channel is your home for Formula One. And for the Kart FedEx Championship Series, I'm Bob Varsha with Tommy Kendall and Scott Pruitt in the announce booth. Derek Daly and Calvin Fisher in the pit lane. A beautiful day for a race in front of a big crowd in Japan. And this is Michael Andretti. He's had a miserable time in the race thus far, mysteriously slow. He's already a lap down his teammate Paul Tracy, who leads Tony Kanaan and Bruno Junqueira.
And Paul just called in. We just heard him on the radio say, no changes to the car. It's just perfect.
Now, on Michael, I think Michael getting lapped, it's unlike Cristiano. Michael is more a function, he and Dario both, of trying to extend their window and get caught going to green. I think Michael is actually on the pace. Obviously, he got passed by the leader, but he's not running horribly. So if they can somehow figure out a way to pull some magic, get back on the lead lap, he's still in the hunt. I think he's running well enough.
They're coming up on about 10 laps before these guys have to make another mandatory pit stop. If the yellow comes out before that, they will be in. If not, I'm sure they'll stretch it right to that.
Here's Cristiano Demera. Look at that number for D'Amata, 19th place. For the hottest driver in the series coming into the weekend with 3 victories in the last 4 races.
This could be a real hiccup for the team. You know, they go from here. They do have a month off. I'll guarantee you they'll be doing some testing on some ovals. These guys are not going to the 500.
Coming in, D'Amata said, I'm concerned about our oval track package. And if he has a race that 19th place would indicate he's going to have right there, that is not good news for the points leader.
I have a hard time understanding. You have Newman Haas Racing, who is the importer, and you have Paul Tracy just showing up for the first time, running probably the box stock setup. And so either they need to poach someone and get a setup. And look at that, driving around the outside of Cristiano. Just intercepted a radio communication. The crew said, Cristiano, stay in the car. You are still moving. I mean, that is, oh my God, that is tough for Cristiano. Points leader and just a non-factor.
Well, he had a misfire problem during qualifying that caused him to basically abort his second timed lap. I'm wondering if there's not more engine problems for the points leader. On board with Dario Franchitti once again.
Now these guys are just thinking, you know what, we're a quarter way, pushing to halfway. Let's be smart. Let's be heads up. We still got a lot of race left. Let's just be smart right now.
That's the feeling I get from Dario, just right in the hunt. I mean, he's a lap down because of that thing, but really running a nice big picture type of race. Tony and Paul up front. Bruno, you said, is looking a little more patient, but Tony and Paul up front are saying, hey, let's take it to these guys. And that is a thing. If you can really bury some guys, get a bunch of guys a lap down, then you can back it off and cruise. So you've got 2 different schools of thought on that.
While we watch this action, spare a prayer for the family of one of our Speed Channel colleagues, Bob Aiken, a 2-time winner of the 12 Hours at Sebring and a veteran of vintage sports car competition, critically injured in a practice crash during the Walter Mitty historic weekend at Road Atlanta in Georgia. He's in the hospital, critical condition. Our thoughts are with his son Bobby, who works for Speed Channel, his wife Ellen, the entire Aiken family, and all their friends. On board with Townsend Bell.
All these guys just kind of settling into a groove right now, talking back to the pits, talking back to your engineers, going, okay, what kind of changes are we going to make? Because on pit stops, you're really limited. You can make a front wing change, which is fairly quick. You can make a tire pressure change. A little bit of traffic coming up here.
Getting around D'Amata, and he gets, I think that's Toro right in front of him.
This is for position.
Look at the right front of his nose there.
Pops
the
up.
Shock cover keeps popping up. Not doing it now. That was a pass for a spot as Bell moves up 1.
I think what that is a little shallow. You get into the draft, you have a low pressure area, and all of a sudden that thing pops up.
Ooh, Mario Dominguez tries to go under. That is shutting the door. Motegi racing aggressively here in front of his home fans. We got the front of Dominguez, who immediately dropped back about 4 car lengths. Paul Tracy remains the leader by a half second over Tony Kanaan. He'll be back to Motegi. Twin ring Motegi. Paul Tracy is the race leader. He has consolidated that position, and here's why. The number 2 man on the track, Tony Kanaan, is heading for the pit lane. Calvin Fish is waiting for the Brazilian.
Tony Kanaan pits it 1 lap earlier than Paul Tracy. He comes in on lap 75. They may have made this decision to get him into the pit box a little bit sooner and see if Tony can get a better outlap. Once again, they got through a lot of fuel. Another perfect pit stop by the Pioneer boys.
And a bit of tire smoke on the way out. I believe he shuts off the traction control before he exits the pit lane.
One possible explanation for coming in a lap early might be to avoid what happened to Cristiano Domata at Long Beach. If you have enough of a lead like that, you could be coming out when everybody else is coming in. I don't know. That's just speculation.
Tracy makes his stop. Looks good and clean for the Team Cool Green squad. Toward Takagi. Might have clipped that air hose ahead of him.
Having said that, one theory I had, you still, to pit even one lap early, if the yellow had come out on that lap, everybody else can wait and they'll extend their 38. And so the risk of pitting before that 38 laps up is tremendous if a yellow comes out.
Well, what they did was, because Paul is right behind him, Paul would have been coming in at the same time. So there would have been guys running around the car, there would have been more confusion, and it would have tripped him up just a little bit, a second or two. But a second or two, when you're running 200 plus miles an hour, is a lot of time.
There's absolutely no net effect if it stays green, but if it goes yellow, and now here's that window for Dario and Michael. If they can get a yellow in this short window before when they have to come in, they would be able to get that lap back. But it's a very short window, I think 4 or 5 laps.
So the new race leader, Kenny Brack, the defending champion at the Bridgestone Potenza 500. You're on board with Townsend Bell as he exits following his second stop.
Now you got to look at right in front of him is Tora Takagi. He had just a little bit quicker pit stop. This is where your pit guys really pay off. Faster on the racetrack, but lost it in the pits.
On the first stop, you saw that illustrated. It was only a matter of about a car length and a half. Paul Tracy came in right behind. When they got onto their speed limits, he was right next to him. So they made up, just a fraction of a second over the Monon guys.
Michael Andretti now up into second place with the benefit of the pit stops. Coming up behind, I believe that's Patrick Carpentier up ahead.
And Dario.
Dario Franchitti.
These two guys should be in shortly. Very slow.
Sinji's going very slow.
Getting back up to speed after his stop.
Two Honda-powered machines. One of the Honda executives this weekend said there are bonus clauses written into all the Honda team contracts, providing a bonus if you win this race, the biggest of the year for the Honda-powered teams.
This is huge. I mean, this is the here Kenny Brack's on his way in.
Kenny Brack down to 50 miles an hour, agonizingly slow. He's headed for the Target Chip Ganassi Racing pits. Calvin Fish waits for him there.
Kenny Brack makes his way down pit lane. It must seem like an eternity when you're the leader and the other guys are out there under green flag running, but he hits the marks. The Team Target boys go to work. We're not expecting any changes here on the race car. I believe Kenny's happy with the balance now. They were making front wing adjustment. Kenny flips up the visor. He's back underway. Another good stop. And he has a clean exit here, being the final man down pit lane.
Michael Andretti ascends to the race lead. Those laps in the lead for Kenny Brack meant more donations to Target House 2 at St. Jude's Children's Medical Research Center in Memphis, Tennessee. $1,000 for Bruno Junqueira's pole. $5,000 if one of the Target Ganassi drivers wins the race. Dario Franchitti pits.
This is a great shot. Really seeing what's going on, what's going through his mind on his way out with Dario. Seems like forever.
Race leader Michael Andretti is in to Derek Daly.
Here is Michael. He brings it in right as soon as Dario leaves. They both said no changes. Watch the fuel, so the tires are done. They measure the fuel in time. Oh, how frustrating. Oh, he stalls it. Michael stalls it. Valuable time. Remember, in green conditions, you can lose 3 laps here. So very costly for Michael. Oh, he stalls it again. He had clutch trouble yesterday, right before the qualifying session. He has the same problem today.
Oh, my. Oh, Paul Tracy, right front wheel. And the car immediately down on the under tray.
He was off the pace already, and the tire blew, but you see the wheel cocked out. The wheel was stopped, I think.
Now remember those bearing problems he had at the left rear in practice. Now the right front.
This is a tough break for these guys. This might, this was one of the things that was concerning Dario coming in. We have not spent that much time with these Lola cars. And with Michael having some problems, and now with Paul, very tough luck.
all the core force is converted into heat in those bearings, so it's very critical the size of the bearing. They actually went to a bigger bearing in the O2 upright, but something about the new upright in the assembly, for whatever reason, is causing lots of problems.
Well, Tommy, you were talking about there was a couple teams that ran the 01s, right?
They're running the 01s, and the Lola people are saying they should be running the 02s because the 02 has a bigger bearing, better able to cope with the heat. Well, Newman Haas and Target Chip Ganassi says, thanks for the recommendation. We'll stick with 01. Well, it looks like they knew something.
And those are long-time Lola teams. Looks like he's also picked up some debris.
That's the actually that's the cooler.
Brake duct wheel cooler that
right.
popped off the inside of the upright. Now the wheel's frozen completely.
After more than 30 laps in the lead, Paul Tracy's race is over.
Just dominating this race. Looked to have a great day here. But this is what happens. I mean, when you change a car like this and you don't have a lot of time, these kind of things will happen.
A major Honda player falls by the wayside, but what he will take from here, every oval for the rest of the year, Paul, even though he's disappointed, he knows they are in the hunt now.
I also saw some debris come off the car at the right front corner when that problem developed. We'll have to see if they throw a yellow. Stay with it.
Of the right front wheel of Paul Tracy, and Paul, you got the car back to pit lane. What happened on the racetrack?
The wheel bearing went funny on me, and then I tried to get it back, and it blew the whole wheel apart. The wheel bearing just came apart and it blew the inside of the rim right out. So it's a disappointing day for Team Cool Green, and we were the class of the field today, and I was really just taking my time. So it's
You felt so
disappointing.
comfortable with this car, Paul, right from the get-go. The third lap out, you were the fastest man on the racetrack in practice, and the early laps here just sensational.
Yeah, I mean, the car was perfect. The balance was perfect. These are the kind of problems you have with a new car. I mean, I guess this is a bit of an issue. The wheel bearing, a lot of guys are running last year's uprights, and we couldn't get any. Nobody would sell us any, so we had to go with what the new spec, and it's obviously not good enough.
A tough day for Paul. He had a great run there. What he's talking about is that Chip Ganassi Racing and Newman Haas have been running the 2001 uprights. They had some concerns about these Lola uprights.
A lot of work to be done between now and our next race. The Miller Lite 250 at Milwaukee on the mile. We'll have practice coverage Friday, May 31st at 3 p.m. Eastern. Kart Friday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And you're going to want to join us for that, trust me. Saturday, June 1st, qualifying. Single car once again on the oval at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And then Sunday, June 2nd, race coverage beginning at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Stay with us all season long. Kart FedEx Championship Trail here on Speed Channel. There is Max Pappas. And we have a yellow flag now. Problems for Mad Max?
Unconfirmed. We hear there's a story that Tora and Max both had
sorting out the situation. There you see Bruno Junqueira down on the track apron. Now this yellow flag will affect pit strategies. Now they see the signboard. That's the plus sign, meaning lead lap cars only may pit.
but it's on the other side, so it was a negative.
Oh, it's not plus on both sides. Shows how often I've taken the sign.
I'm not sure. I think it has plus on both sides. I think we saw the
I believe it does, because this is Junqueira.
To show those behind what it is.
Now the caution is for debris. No doubt from Paul Tracy's right front wheel issue.
Tony Kanaan on his way. Quick stop.
Both Target Ganassi cars in.
Oh, Junqueira.
Gently. This is a yellow flag.
Cutting hairs on his way out. Maybe that was my problem when I was racing. Didn't know what was going on out there.
The results didn't show too many problems from what I could see.
This is down in turn 1 and 2. There you see another of the tunnels that allow the FIA spec road course here at Twin Ring Motegi to enter and exit the oval. It's a beautiful facility suited for so many different kinds of motorsports. The only problem, as Derek Daly mentioned at the top of the show, getting in and out of here can be a problem if you're not staying at the track hotel.
Getting in and out of the pits too. This takes forever for these guys. It's about 55, 56 seconds from the time they leave the pit stall on their way out. Takagi and Franchitti.
Getting word Max Pappas has committed a pit lane violation. He'll have a drive-through penalty in his future.
drive-throughs must be served under green, so he'll have to wait until they go green.
Good point. Adding insult to injury as Tora Takagi makes his way back out. I mentioned that Walker Racing has agreed to buy the assets of Reynard Cars North America. CART has chosen to freeze its chassis regulations as of the end of this year, meaning you can develop your Reynard or Lola through the end of the year, but then the chassis regs will freeze rather than going to the new chassis specs that were designed to match those of the rival Indy Racing League beginning in 2003. But those plans have become much more complicated.
A lot of smoke coming out of the back of
Townsend
I would
Bell?
say that's Townsend Bell's car. Now what's going on right there is it's just dumping a little extra oil through the turbo, and then you're seeing that smoke. It's continually, we see that race after race. Not a problem, just a bit of an issue.
It's always with the Toyotas, is it not?
Always with the Toyotas. Exactly right.
I believe they use a single wastegate on those turbochargers. Whether that affects the situation mechanically or not, I'm not experienced enough to tell you. But we'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back. Still under yellow here in the Bridgestone Potenza 500, along with Scott Pruitt and Tommy Kendall. I'm Bob Varsha. Calvin Fish and Derek Daly are in the pit lane. Temperature is expected to reach the low 70s, much warmer than these drivers and teams have seen through 2 days of practice and qualifying here in the Highlands northeast of Tokyo. Now there's Max Pappas's Sigma Autosport car in the pits looking at the right rear, and Pappas is climbing out. Bad news.
It's going to be a tough break for this team. They've been doing real good, and it'll come back to green.
Jim Swindoll waves the green. We're back underway. 3 cars now officially out. Jimmy Vasser, who caught fire after the first round of pit stops. Paul Tracy, who had a right front wheel bearing fail. Now Max Pappas.
They're talking about Max. They're saying it's a brake problem, but the wheel bearing can have that effect. What happened with Paul Tracy, you saw what cut the wheel actually is when the bearing goes, the spindle tips and it put the wheel in contact with the brake caliper. Same thing can happen at the rear, and as that spindle tips, the pedal gets really long because the pads get kicked back. So it wouldn't surprise me. That's another 02 Lola upright. So this is something to watch with the other 02 Lolas and also the 01s, supposedly better like Junqueira, but is it enough to deal with the heat and stress of these high banks?
Trying to get by some lap cars, getting caught up a little bit. Junqueira to the inside, 3 wide.
Oh, that's Scott Dixon, the New Zealander. They sandwich.
Pulls it off. And Kenny Brack's in the pits.
This has got to be unscheduled.
Now both Brack and Carpentier came in a number of times during that last yellow, like Dario and Michael, and did it properly. They were able to extend their window out, but obviously this is a different problem they're coming in for.
Engine cover comes off.
And Junqueira.
Oh, Junqueira under Kanan. Wow.
That was aggressive. Great move right down the inside. Townsend Bell's able to catch up just a little bit.
Look at this, Townsend Bell, strong, solid third, and Junqueira, so much for patience, huh? We're 100 laps into this.
Okay, well, I thought he had a lot of patience.
Patience is a relative term with racing drivers. Here comes Tony right back. Wow, this is a great seat.
Obviously, turn 3 is the place to do your passing. No sign of the shock cover flipping up again.
Boy, Tony is just very confident with his race car. Put it anywhere he wants it. Extremely happy with it all weekend long. And here you have, I mean, this is perfect.
The run Junqueira has, Tony protects down the inside, says if you're going to do it, you're going to have to go the long way.
Not happening. Although that's where Kanan was when they went around Scott Dixon. He managed to hold the spot. Quick stop for Brack. Now that long haul around to the release point outside turn 2.
Okay, now this is a Reynard Honda, Lola Toyota. How about that? These guys are racing head to head.
And behind it, Townsend Bell, and not too far behind Bell is Tagliani pulling himself up into the picture. You got the top 4 guys going at it.
Let's get to Derek Daly in the pits with Mad Max.
Max, I can see the frustration to run in 6th place and then to have it all fall apart. What happened?
I brought the Sigma car up there, passing people on the outside. I think I was running very strong, and unfortunately we have a rear caliper failure. I guess that we've been running too long on those.
Sorry, Max, a great run, particularly coming on the heels of what happened at Long Beach.
I thought we would finish again on the podium. The car was very, very strong. Unfortunately, we came here again with only 1 car, not so many spares, and that's what can happen. But we're going to recover and come back really strong.
Absolutely, I believe that.
Finally, that smile we've come to expect from Mad Max. We can now look ahead to his drive, his attempt to qualify, I should say, for the Indianapolis 500, driving for Eddie Cheever's Red Bull team.
They'll do a great job there. Those guys, I'm not sure about their personalities, so I'm anxious to see those two guys together.
Cheever, Thomas Schechter, and Max Pappas.
Give you the TK translation when he says that caliper might have been on there a little too long. That team, even though it has Rockwell on there, it is being funded out of Tom Waringa's pocket. And so when he says short on spares, I read that as not quite enough money to make sure they have everything at their disposal.
Kenny Brack back in. Problems for the defending race champion.
He's having a lot of problems with something going on in the back there, something on the engine department. You can see him coming in, taking the rear cover off continually.
Back on track and on board with Townsend Bell, continuing his great run. Here's our Bridgestone race summary. The leader is Tony Kanaan. 51 laps led. Remember, there's a championship bonus point for leading the most lap. 2 cars. We know it's 3 cars out of the race now with Max Pappas's exit, in addition to Jimmy Vasser and Paul Tracy. Ooh, little.
That onboard you shot, you saw him get in a little bit hot and wash up a little bit in the middle, and he had to wait a little bit to pick up the throttle, and you saw just that little delay. He was closing on the Junqueira in front of him, and it just gapped it right back out.
There's a look out the back as he comes under attack. Alex Tagliani on the march. He's had a difficult weekend. Getting up onto a possible podium position would be great for the Canadian. And Dario Franchitti, first of the cars, a lap down. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Bridgestone Potenza 500. Time for the first of our Toyota Spotlights. Recapping the action in the race to this point. The field took the green flag with Bruno Junqueira edging into an early lead from pole position, but not for long as Tony Kanaan was on the charge, goes around the outside of the pole sitter to take the lead in turn 2. On lap 33, bring around to pit stops. Kanaan and Paul Tracy, who had an engine change after the morning warm-up, came out of the pits wheel to wheel, went all the way around to the acceleration lane at the exit of turn 2, and Tracy took the race lead. Jimmy Vasser came into this race with high hopes after a second place 2 weeks ago in Long Beach, but a pit problem allowed fuel to hit the hot exhaust headers, and a fire ended Vasser's day. Tora Takagi has been burping smoke out of his Toyota engine for the last 25 laps or so, but he appears to be healthy. Not so Paul Tracy, who lost the bearing in the right front wheel of his new Lola chassis. It carved the wheel in half, and Tracy's dominant run was finished. Tony Kanaan in a Reynard with Honda power for Monon Racing at the event where he put Monon's new team on the podium for the first time a year ago. He's had a solid run at the front. Max Pappas, brake problems at the right rear corner of his Lola. The Italian's race is over. 3 cars now out of the race as we continue around the 1.548-mile oval here at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Scotty Pruitt, along with Calvin Fish and Derek Daly. Glad to have you with us for round 3 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. It's Townsend Bell in the bright orange Visteon car for Patrick Racing, with Alex Tagliani drawing ever closer in that Ford-powered Players Forsyth machine.
These guys are having a great run together. Now, a lot of these guys are just measuring each other up right now, seeing how they can drive them, how they can run them hard. That and seeing where the cars are strong and where they have to protect themselves a little bit.
4 cars on the lead lap. Dario Franchitti running 5th is a lap down after pitting just before, probably.
Whoa, he's way up high up.
He
looks like out of the wall.
And look at that, he's still defending. Tagliani says, I'm coming through. See, we saw that a little bit before in the onboard. He pushed up a little bit, and he really had to breathe it coming out, but obviously he's fighting a handling problem at the front of that car.
So I'm not sure how hard he got into it. It looks like I'm not sure if he just touched it or got into it a good bit.
Definitely got up there, and I think you'll see a black mark on the wall when we come around this time. There you go.
There it is.
Boom, boom.
Looks like he got it front and rear. So 3rd place now goes to Alex Tagliani, who got very few laps in the opening practice, spun in the 2nd practice, got into his backup car after a turbo problem in his primary, and rocketed up to, I believe it was 3rd or 4th on the timesheets in just a handful of laps. Let's take another look at what happened to Townsend Bell.
Got up high, Out of the groove.
Oh!
That's a good shot.
I'll tell you what, he wasn't slowing down much after that.
No.
He's still on it.
This is coming off the contact. Watch Tagliani loom in his rearview mirrors.
Did you see that magnesium flash when the wheel blasted the wall? Last time I saw that was at Indy when Nigel Mansell went out on board and you saw a big magnesium flash. That's also the last time I saw a guy hit at 200 miles an hour and not come into the pits. That is a brave young boy in that Visteon car.
To the front, Kanaan, Junqueira.
Kanaan's really got this race in hand right now. Looks like he can place his car anywhere he wants to. He's very comfortable. He's just setting his pace, watching. See, a lot of these guys, what you got to realize is what's happening right now is these guys want to run their pace. The engineers tell him, hey, you don't got to run that fast. He says, but this is where I'm comfortable. This is where the car is good.
And with someone up front forcing the pace like that, it actually changes the strategy all the way back through. As Jimmy said, you can't afford to go a lap down. And so guys might be running harder than they want to keep a reasonable gap to Kanaan.
Tor Takagi now closing up on Bell, who appears to be just that little bit off the pace now.
That's a pretty good lick for not coming in.
I can't believe he's still out there. He's brave. I'm not saying that's real smart, but he is brave.
Yeah, don't get those two confused.
Here comes Takagi. There's the view from Takagi's car looking ahead at Bell. You get a sense for the mountaintop nature of this racetrack. $450 million from Honda included a lot of earth moving. The altitude is only about 530 feet above sea level, and it is an amazing engineering project. As you see, grandstands nearly all the way around. With some 72,000 fans, the announced attendance today, that will bring the three-day total to over 100,000 fans this weekend. It's a little cold weather earlier on. That's good.
A little blurry out the back there, but you saw as Takagi has a run, a little blurry, but you could see a good view of the bump going into turn 3 and 4. The front of Takagi's car just really pops up there, and that's right where you're downshifting. And so that, I'm surprised we haven't seen more guys twitch. Michael Andretti.
Saw him have apparent clutch problems earlier. The car stalled a couple of times.
This is certainly not the way he wanted his race to end.
Both Team Cool Green Lolas out. Exactly. Reynard still humming along.
And that's the problem. I mean, you got to put a lot of miles on these cars and figure out exactly what's going on. Race for the lead. Pass for the lead.
Is Kanaan off the pace? Or is that just...
Doesn't look like it. Although Junqueira did pass him with ease.
He did. Looks like he's pulling out, too.
Get back to Michael's story in just a moment. Now Junqueira extending that lead.
I wonder if Tony's having some sort of problem.
Now he's coming back on. Oh boy, he hustled it into 3 there. He was just a little...
There's another look.
Looks like Bruna just had a good run. And it took him a while to kind of get his steam back up and come back on.
He kind of pinned him up high there in the entrance to 3. I wonder if he was concerned about getting into that gray area that claimed Townsend Bell just a few moments ago. Let's get down to Derek Daly now with Michael.
Michael. It looked good until things started to fall apart around you.
Yeah, first with the clutch, we had a clutch go and a pit stop, so it was going to be tough in the pit stops without a clutch. And then the wing broke, but the car became really good. We were running as quick as everybody out there, but we were already a couple laps down. It would have been dependent on yellows anyway.
Mike, it might be a blessing that you got in here with that broken wing. Where did the wing break and how did you feel it?
Well, thank God Kim was on the ball. He saw it when I was going down the straightaway, and he said, slow down, broken wing. And I looked, and it was just hanging on. So thank God he told me before I got to turn 1.
Good. Thanks, Michael.
And Kim would be Kim Green, who runs Michael's Motorola program for Team Green. This is Tony Kanaan, and there's smoke from the engine bay. This is bad news.
The fire right in front of the rear wheel, too.
Oh, yeah. Just below the flick-ups there.
We saw him off the pace.
God, what a heartbreak for Tony. Met the strongest Honda. Now with Paul Tracy out, Kanaan out. Who's the next Honda?
Michael Andretti out. Dario Franchitti is a lap down. Things looking grim here in Honda's home ballpark. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Motegi. One thing the Hans device does is limit your dejection when you drop out of a race you have dominated, as Tony Kanaan has until just moments ago. Let's get down to Calvin Fish in the pit lane.
Well, total devastation for Tony Kanaan. Tony, you had such an unbelievable car there in the early going. And this race so important to you, I know, to get the season going here, and particularly for Honda. What are your feelings right now?
The worst, but there's nothing I can do about it. All can I say is I did my best, and we've been having a lot of problems since the first race, 3 DNFs in a row. I think people really gonna need to work hard to figure out what's going on, because today we had a winning car. I did my best. I don't think anything else I can do. Unfortunately, I feel sad right now, but at the end of the day, it's just one more race. Life goes on, and what can I say? It's a tough day.
Great performance nonetheless, mate.
It's Tony Kanaan. Thank you, Calvin. 4 cars remain on the lead lap. Bruno Junqueira, the race leader, who started from pole as we work lap 122. Tony Kanaan led 72 of the 120 laps to this point.
That interview did a good job of communicating what it feels like. I mean, Long Beach is one of the biggest races. This is one of the biggest races. It just feels like a big punch right in the gut.
Such a long way to come to suffer that kind of disappointment. Going around relatively slow Christian Fittipaldi goes the race leader Bruno Junqueira. Kanaan's not the only driver out. Our defending champion is out as well. Let's get back down to Calvin Fish.
Kenny, another tough day for you, man. It looks like you had a good car there at the beginning, but what ultimately put you out of the race?
Yeah, the first few laps the car was good, then we went big time loose, and then we have no power. I don't know what it is. It's turbo broke or something. I don't know. Just it wouldn't pull.
With the new wing package, Kenny, was it easier to go side by side? I saw you and Bruno and some of the other guys in the early laps. The car's more comfortable under this situation?
Yeah, I think it looks fine. You know, it's a shame with the Targa car here and for Toyota and everybody, but we'll go on to the next one.
Right, thanks a lot.
There's a couple things that are just flooring me here for a second. One, Michael breaking a rear wing and Kim Green catching it. I mean, that's huge.
On the fly?
That's huge. I don't know what happened, but that's wow.
Got a quick look at Alex Tagliani. We now have 4 cars on the lead lap. This is Townsend Bell, who hasn't slowed down much after that heavy contact with the wall right there. No sign of any problem at the right front.
Shifting up 1 gear, down to 1 and 2.
Pull another gear right here.
Oh, it's just such a great shot.
Dario Franchitti.
I just love to sit and watch this shot. This is as close as you'll ever get to feeling exactly what it's like to drive one of these cars.
Minus 4 Gs at each of 4 corners for 201 laps. Notice the helmet doesn't move hardly at all. It's set in place with that bolster that surrounds the driver's head. Here's a number we haven't called for a while. This is Michel Jourdain Jr. on a great run, in position right now to beat his all-time career high in points. He's currently running in 5th place. Now, in the first 2 races of this season, he's amassed 22 points. His career high in 6 previous seasons is 30. A good run today. He will almost certainly come out with a new career high in points in just 3 races.
Michel, this is the first time he's had a good opportunity to work with a good experienced guy like Jimmy Vasser and to have good equipment around him.
He got trapped behind Amata and he held it down. Someone said, hey, the leader's coming up on you, and he held it, and then he went around Amata on the outside. But he's running this race like a 500 miler, and it's unfolding like a 500 miler. And you know, he's just running his pace, and look, he's creeped up and he's a lap down, but he's up in 5th place.
Talking to these drivers before this race, a lot of concerns about durability with the car and with these engine packages. And so far, we're seeing quite a few issues already into this race.
See Fittipaldi, who is many laps down at this point. 14th place for Christian Fittipaldi after a strong start to the season in Motegi, Japan. A DNF for mechanical reasons in Long Beach 2 weeks ago.
Look at him cranking on the front wing. They're just cranking, taking front wing out of there. That car's loose. He's fighting it. Says, hey, guys, we got to get this thing changed so I can be comfortable again.
Here comes the race leader,
31. This
Junqueira.
is the magic lap. This is the end of the 38-lap window from the last stop. So expect all the guys that are on that strategy that stopped way back. Back it up, 131. My math is terrible. 118, is it? 119.
All these guys coming in.
123.
We talked about teamwork. Now you got to realize they got no matter when they stop, they got to take 4 tires. So even if they do a quick splash, you got to take 4 tires. Here they're loading the car with fuel on his way.
Something I didn't consider when we were talking about the incredible endurance of these Bridgestone Potenza tires are that you don't have to put new tires on necessarily. You can keep, ooh, looks like a problem with the right front corner. Looks like they lost the air.
Oh. Wow, that looks like a Long Beach redo.
And that was this man, Dario Franchitti, right across Tora Takagi's bows. That could have been very expensive.
These pits aren't as tight as Long Beach. One thing that actually didn't come out of Long Beach is there was no resolution on who should have avoided that.
Now problems working on that right front corner of Townsend Bell's car.
You got to remember, he went up and hit the wall, and what happens is he got into that spindle, and that spindle kind of mushroomed out. I've had this happen before. They got it changed. Just takes longer on the pit stop.
So they send Townsend Bell on his way with a fresh set. And he begins the long haul around to the acceleration lane on the far side of the racetrack. We'll take a quick break and return with more from Motegi, Japan. Welcome back to the Bridgestone Potenza 500, round 3 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series for 2002. On board with Dario Franchitti, running a lap behind the race leaders after a miscue in the pit lane caused him to pit just before the race restarted after a yellow flag. And he's been trying desperately to get back on the lead lap.
He just can't quite get that lead lap back. Needs some more yellows for something like that to happen.
The yellows actually don't work out like they used to, because if you're ahead of the leader on the track and the yellow comes out, you get to make up your lap. But if you do that, you can't pit under that yellow to fuel, and so it almost washes the gain that used to happen. So that's a probably foreseen consequence of these new fueling windows.
On board now with Townsend Bell. Be sure to join us for the Rolex Grand Am Sports Car Series action. United Auto 200 from Phoenix, Arizona.
Whoa.
Bell!
Oh! Holy smoke. Looks like he got in there and just a lot of wheel movement.
Oh, man.
I don't know if that thing just jumped out from underneath him, if he had a problem.
First thing that jumps to my mind is that have anything to do with him hitting the wall.
Exactly right.
Crinking the rear suspension. There's the front wheel, which came off after you saw it. It was still intact when he went into the wall.
Followed by the wheel nut. And we saw them having problems with the right front. I wonder if they had a stripped wheel nut.
Well, the way it spun around, it's something definitely at the back of the car, if anything, at the back. So if he hit first on the back when he went up and white-walled it. Did he weaken something there that failed? You can't tell from that, because he also hit the wall with that. Wow, that was
That's a big shot.
Good to see him. He was still steering the car when he was going backwards. So
big shot. They're getting to him.
Safety crew on the scene, trying to contain the engine fluids.
Being here, I mean, I've been in that position and seen these guys pull up as fast as they do. Wow. I mean, that makes you, I mean, it's his bad situation, but these guys are the best.
Talk about what it feels like to look up and see Dr. Trammell or Dr. Olvey. I mean, you're hurting and you're scared, but to look up and see a familiar face, that must make a big difference.
Just on board here.
Look. Whoa. Oh, my. Oh, wow.
Looks like it just jumped out from underneath him. He tried to correct.
Lost his grip on the
I'll
steering
say he tried to correct that.
Wow.
I mean, that was his more right turn than you ever want to see on an oval. People are told you only try to chase it for a little while, but I mean, and as he had all that steering, and you saw his hands come loose on the steering wheel. Oh,
if it had gripped, it would have turned him right into the wall.
It started to grip. It started to turn right, and he was able to get all the steering the other way. Oh, that just puts your heart in your throat.
These guys are working real hard to get him out of the car. Big shot.
Rough welcome to the series for Townsend Bell. Now here's a look as he comes at you.
There's the bump in turn 3, the downshift.
Getting down in.
Starts to lose the back end. He corrects it. Look at it. Oh, man, that's the scary part. And then he gets it turned the other way.
Wow. And he wasn't up into much of the gray. He was still on a grippy part of the racing line.
You know, as the tires get worn a little bit, and the track's getting a little bit greasy, when you hit the downshift, that adds a little bit of rear brake to the car.
In real time now, watch and listen. Ouch. Man, that was a big hit. He looked to be okay in the car right there in the immediate aftermath. Now here it is from the high camera across the track as he backs it in.
Now the way, when he corrected, the way it hooked tells me the rear did not break probably. If the rear had broken, it would have just spun and kept going. So it's probably just something, lost the back of the car, chased it, and was just digging there.
It looks like it just got loose from on the way in. We didn't see any problem with it. All the four wheels are on the car. At that point when he lost it, it was still under, I mean, it looked to me like when he got in and just got away from him, we didn't expect it corrected for it. Boy, he's lucky he just didn't hook straight up into the fence.
That's
crew under Dave Hollander and Lon Bromley at work. There's Pat Patrick, his car owner. So many years of racing experience. Talking it over with Jim McGee, vastly experienced team manager. Well, we'll wait for word on Townsend Bell after a heavy crash. We'll be right back to Motegi, Japan. Welcome back to the Bridgestone Potenza 500. There's the race leader, Bruno Junqueira, driving completely through the pits without stopping. We'll have to find out more about that a little bit later on. Right now, let's get to Calvin Fish with Jim McGee.
Well, Jim McGee is watching the big screen. I know it's not a picture you want to see, Jim, but Townsend had a problem out there with the car. Was it anything to do with the touch on the right front that he had earlier?
No. He just said he lost it. You know, we had a problem. He touched the wall with the right front previously. We had a tough time getting the nut off, but it went back on. It was good and tight and everything like that.
You say he said the car went loose, so he's okay. He's talking to you on the radio?
Yeah, he talked to me. I said, how you doing? He said, okay. He said, just a big hit.
Okay, mate, thanks very much. Good news there is that Townsend is okay. Another aggressive run for the young rookie here today. Comes up a little short, however.
All right, Calvin, if we could ask you, we'd like you to tell us more about what's going on with Bruno Junqueira in that drive-through as you watch Scott Dixon. A part of the fun of the Kart FedEx Championship Series is the technology, and in this, our next Toyota Spotlight, last year's Rookie of the Year explains the functions on his steering wheel.
We're here at PWR Championship Racing here in Indy, the shop here, and just taking a look basically at the wheel that we use for the race and the sort of more technical side of it. You've got your gear light here, which tells you which gear you're in. You've also got your shift lights here, which come up this way. And then we have our fuel number, which is how much is actually in the tank, and a lap count. This one here is a MPG number, which is fuel that you use per lap over a mileage, and you have your lap time. Basically, this one here is the traction control for this year, which is something that's been added. It depends on the driver, and you can set up in numerous ways. And then with fuel, which was one that was heavily used last year. Basically, the bigger the number you go, the more you lean the engine out, which this year we don't obviously have to use a whole lot. We also have the fuel reset, which just resets the tank fuel when we come in and make pit stops.
Reset the fuel, reset the fuel.
You've got the speed limiter one here, which is just for the pits. Makes the car consistently run at the 50 miles an hour. This one here is the boost. Try and get it as close as possible to your 34 inches to produce the most power. Two more on the back. On the left we have the radio, and this one here is actually the push to pass, which gives you most fuel, and I don't know, it used to give you more boost and things like that, but that's generally about it, and it's what I have to look at for 2 hours every race.
Thanks to Scott Dixon. I remember years ago at Le Mans, we asked Kenny Atchison to explain the dashboard on his Mercedes sports car, and he ran down the line of gauges and switches and got to one and said, you know what? I have no idea what that does. We'll be right back to Motegi. Welcome back to Motegi, Japan. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Scott Pruitt, Derek Daly, and Calvin Fish with you for round 3 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Pit stop action going on.
Bruno Junqueira is finally making the scheduled pit stop. He had the roll through area, skids to a stop there a little bit on his marks. But this will be interesting to see if target Chip Ganassi can recover from this little mistake here. I believe it was just radio communication issues. We're going to try and regroup here. We have about just under 50 laps left, so there's a lot of racing left in this one.
Sorry for stepping on you there, Calvin.
Takagi doing a little chop there, working him to the inside.
Not Takagi. Tora doing a chop.
I know. I know.
Hard to believe.
I know.
Oh, the cars look so slow, making that long trip to the exit of turn 2. Takagi, Junqueira, Adrian Fernandez. Tommy talked earlier about the problems they've been having with weight jackers broken. Just the beginning of a litany of problems for a man who won the first 2 iterations of this race in 1998 and 99. Back to Calvin.
Mike, now that things have shaken out a little bit, tell us about what happened during that caution period when Bruno rolled through the pits here.
He missed the pit entrance, and the way that the kart works is not everybody comes in the same time. People on the lead lap come in on what they call the plus lap, so we missed that. Bruno came in, so what you have to do is you got to drive right through, then you got to pack up, then you come in, and once that happens, then you have to start at the back. So we did everything the way we had to do it according to the rule book, and as you can see, we're back where we need to be, so it's going to come down to the end here.
He certainly sliced through that field like a knife through butter. He seems to be certainly the quickest car in the field right now.
He's doing a great job. Toyota Motors, obviously a great motor today, but the thing is there's a lot of guys who dropped out of the race. Obviously it'd be difficult if all those front runners are still with us. We were kind of hoping that Kenny and the other Target car was going to be up there with us, but it didn't happen today.
All right, Mike, good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
It is Mike Hull from Target Chip Ganassi Racing. There's Alex Tagliani, shown as first on the racetrack, now behind the pace car. One would expect that he will be in to top off on fuel before we go green. Now remember, earlier Dario Franchitti got caught out. We're hearing from the Team Cool Green squad that they weren't given a clear signal of when there was 1 lap to go to the green. So I'm wondering if the players team might be a little bit careful about when they bring this guy in.
This is a little curious because he's sticking to the exact 38.76. He hasn't deviated it from that at all. But he's only got a little, depending on how long this yellow lasts, he doesn't have a lot of laps before he has to come in. So this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
You saw Bruno Junqueira count the cars up to the leader. 11 cars before you get to that man, Alex Tagliani.
See, I'd come in here and go ahead and take 4, fill the car up. That puts you, when you move forward, that gives you that big margin, because another yellow might just come out.
So you still need 1 more to get to the end, but what he has is he has a free pass here. I believe because of that penalty, Bruno has to start behind him. So even if he comes in now and comes back, he ordinarily would be right behind Bruno. But I think if he came in and came back out, I think Bruno would have to go back behind him again. There's only 2 cars on the lead lap. That would be a freebie. He has a little bit of track position here, and if it stays green till the end, there's no real penalty. But if there's a yellow between when he comes in and Bruno makes his last stop, he's cooked.
Still looking for his first win. Alex Tagliani about to roll the dice. Stay with us. Welcome back to Motegi, Japan. The Bridgestone Potenza 500 goes back under green after a long yellow to pick up the crushed race car of Townsend Bell, who appears to be all right. There's Alex Tagliani. We talked about him pitting now that the window is open. Oh, we'll get to Tagliani in a moment. Shinji Nakano has lost the left rear wheel on his race car.
Left rear wheels can come completely off. It looks like he had some sort of indication he was way down to the bottom of the track, Tommy.
Yeah, he had pulled down, but he did not make a stop on that last yellow, so it's not like they just left it loose. But again, we've seen a bunch of examples of guys dodging trouble, knowing about it before it happened in the corner.
Now that's, we've had this problem before. If you get a new set of wheels and you don't get them bed in, they can actually work themselves loose on that nut.
Now let's get back to Tagliani. This brings out another yellow flag and another opportunity for Tagliani to pit, so the situation may have played into his hands. He did not pit under that previous yellow, so he's obviously intending to run green for a while.
His last stop was on lap 131, so he has to be in on 169. That's only 10 or 12 laps from now, so I would expect Tagliani to be in, so he's got another chance to get in.
This should be a slam dunk. Bring him in. That brings, if you come in now, that pushes it all the way to about 197, 198, somewhere in there.
3 or 4 laps from the end of the race. So it looks like Shinji Nakano will make it back to his pit. Mount another wheel if they can and send the Japanese driver on his way. Back under yellow at the Bridgestone Potenza 500. Stay with us. Back at Motegi, still under yellow. Enjoy our final Toyota Spotlight, the sounds of speed. was coming. Townsend Bell's crash. Bell, by the way, is in the infield medical center where he has been diagnosed as having bruised knees, but no broken bones or other complications. He'll be released and sent home to the United States on schedule, and that's great news. Bruno Junqueira runs in second place. Bob Varsha along with Tommy Kendall and Scott Pruitt. Go ahead, Scott.
I'm surprised he didn't bring
Alex Tagliani. Still has not pitted.
162. If they had gotten to 163, the window would have opened for everybody, and everybody would have been in the pits. But Alex Tagliani has to be in by lap 169. And so if it goes green till the end, it nets out as no difference, and he has a little bit better track position. But the risk between 169 and when Bruno has to come in, if you get a yellow, he's sunk. And there's no advantage gained by doing this other than that little bit of track position.
He's taking that extra risk. Meanwhile, there is Junqueira, who was absolutely shot from a cannon coming from the back of the group where he was placed after that pit miscue earlier.
He's just carving his way right back up through the field.
Not only did Bruno pit on 144, he extended his window. He pitted at the end of that caution, which on 152, which means he is not due in until 190. So between 169 and 190, he's at risk.
I would have brought, I mean, you think about both these guys are on the lead lap by themselves. Both of these teams should have brought these guys in just for this. Is meant if you went to the end, you might make it. I mean, you have to make a pit stop 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 laps from the end. But at least if another yellow came out, you'd be in that window.
Because a green flag stop is just so detrimental, all your strategy has to be dictated towards extending your window out. And so there's going to be an opportunity coming up here with Dario. Dario can go even further. Dario, I believe, can go to 197. And so he will have a little bit of an opportunity if between 190 when Bruno pits and 197 when he pits. If there's a yellow in those things, he'll make up that lap and then some, and it'll be a shootout for the very end of the race.
It's like Takagi's having a good run, putting some heat on. Now, he isn't on the same lap, but he's certainly putting some heat on Takagi. And there he goes, right up the inside. Wonder if Tag must be having some sort of problem with his car. It's just
wondering if he doesn't
not working the way he'd want it to right now.
Clutch problems, maybe some reason you don't want to stop for fear of not being able to get back out.
Well, he has to stop again no matter
true,
what.
yeah.
So it's you better do it under yellow than under green.
And look at Bruno Junqueira rocket past Tagliani for the lead. Takagi made up a lap, but that man, Bruno Junqueira, is now in the race lead, having caught that man, Alex Tagliani, in very, very few laps. The only 2 cars on the lead lap, as Tommy mentioned.
Now, Tagliani now has to pit, I believe, at 169, so he's going to be in very shortly.
2 more laps, and he will be in a working 168 right now. Right, I mean, he's not off the pace completely. He's not running as quick as Bruno or he was earlier, but he's not. I mean, he's not dropping like a stone to the back.
See the new running order across the top of your screen. Junqueira, Tagliani, then a lap down is Frank Keedy. Still suffering from that earlier pit miscue. Michel Jourdain Jr. having a quiet race. Patrick Carpentier has come forward. Oriol Servia, Mario Dominguez.
So Tag should be in this lap. He'll finish this lap and should be on his way in if they don't have any communication problems.
Yep, here he comes. Like Mexico. Like Mexico.
That was Monterrey, Mexico, the season opener, where his teammate, Patrick Carpentier, said he couldn't hear the instructions to pit. Went 1 lap beyond the mandatory pit window, and his race basically was toast.
So this is a good illustration of how critical that is, or how much time you lose. All those guys are running 200 miles an hour while he stopped, and so it'll be 70-some seconds. They have another stop to make, so if it stays green, it nets out as nothing. But the risk now is, look, so those guys are going to be 1 lap, almost 3 laps they'll put on him while he stopped.
And that makes the yellow flag so important. Why didn't you use a yellow when you had one?
I guess they're obviously gambling that it's going to go green the rest of the way. And
exactly.
So, but the risk, the reward. Again, if you gained a bunch by doing that, I can see rolling the dice, but you gain nothing.
You gain nothing at all. It doesn't make any sense. You should go ahead and let it take and open up your window as much as possible, taking advantage of those yellows.
Tagliani comes back on track in 8th place.
Toward Takagi. Takagi's having a great run right now. He's up there for now. He's not on the same lap, but he's certainly pacing Bruno.
Excuse me. Could not be 8th. Junqueira looking for that big $5,000 donation to St. Jude's Hospital with a victory. Basically, except for missing the pit entrance and having to do the drive-through and drop back, it's been a pretty clean and green day for him. This looks slow.
He's just getting going. Looks like he's fighting something with the car.
Yeah,
I mean, he just looks like he's off the pace.
Doesn't look right for Tagliani.
And we got to mention with Tora Takagi, he did get a stop-and-go penalty because he ran over, and now this is a while ago, he did run over another hose. I think it was one of Max's hoses. He had to come in and get a stop-and-go.
On board with Dario Franchitti, checking the timing monitors. Yes, in fact, Alex Tagliani did go 2 laps down in 8th. That's what a green flag stop will cost you at Motegi. We'll be back. Welcome back to Twin Ring Motegi in Japan to the Bridgestone Potenza 500. I'm Bob Varsha with Scott Pruitt, Tommy Kendall, Calvin Fish, and Derek Daly, and you are riding with Dario Franchitti.
Dario's had a good, solid race. Unfortunately, that miscommunication, getting a lap down early, but he's run a strong race all day long.
That's the only difference between he and the leaders virtually, is that when they tried to extend their window, what we've been telling everyone what Tagliani should be doing, they did on the lap it went green and didn't get quite back caught up before they went green, ended up going a lap down and hasn't been able to get back to that. His only chance, again, is between 190 and 197. If they can get a yellow there, he'll make that time up. But other than that, he's probably trapped a lap down.
And it's worth the gamble. I mean, it's absolutely worth the gamble because it takes so long to get in and out of the pits.
Chips shots. His belt occasionally flaps up into the picture. I'm surprised he wouldn't fasten that down.
And it's amazing you do. You stick it down inside, and then after about, I don't know, 100 laps or so, it just kind of works its way loose, and it'll start flapping around a little bit.
There's Mr. Osaka, and I mean, this, I don't know if this is true or if this is urban legend, but after the first year at Motegi when Ford won, rumor has it that some senior engineer slapped a junior engineer in a bar to say this is dishonorable. So it gives you a sense of how important this is between Toyota and Honda.
I was there. I saw it. You were in the bar after the race at Motegi at that hotel right behind the track, and it did happen.
Well, there you go.
It's brutal.
This is Shinji Nakano. A moment ago, you saw Tora Takagi.
Down 2 gears into turn 3. Working through 3. I know you can't see that, but excellent teammates. He's back going again. These guys have had just a brutal weekend down here.
Keep in mind, Adrian Fernandez, using Ford power, won the first 2 Bridgestone Potenza 500s in 1998 and 99.
Notice the difference. This is, on board with Dario again. Also the visor cam, because this is mounted to the car, you don't get the tip of the head at all, or any of the movement of the head. Big difference, even though they're coming from within about a foot of each other. Yeah, Dario likes to lean his head a little bit. He's actually packed it into that one spot. He can't straighten up if he wants to counteract the G-loads.
They use those bolsters to the driver's right.
You get a good feel how big that bump is getting in turn 3 too. I mean, it's a big shot, especially when you're braking, downshifting right there in the same area. Carpenter's having a solid run. Jourdain, I mean, he's on his way to another top 5. And Servia has had a quiet day, but just closing.
Servia qualified 10
or
11 miles an hour off the pole.
He has made 8 pit stops to this point, has Oriol Servia. They must have been awfully quick ones. He's got one more to come, but here he is, running up toward the top 5 and 6.
We were talking about that. This is just taking advantage of opening up your opportunity under yellow. All those pit stops, not all of them, but most of them have come under yellow, just trying to open up that opportunity.
Hard to believe Dario Franchitti is still looking for his first Kart FedEx Championship Series oval track victory. All his wins have come on road courses and street circuits.
Tell you what, with the way he's run this race, without that mistake, he'd be right up there battling for the win and looking pretty confident. I look for him to be a good guy in the Indy 500, Dario Franchitti.
Michel Jourdain having a good solid run on his way down. 50 miles an hour. Now you got to remember, no matter how much fuel, they have to take on 4 tires. So when we get down to the end at 197, 196 lap, these guys can come in. It's for just a splash of fuel, but they have to take 4 tires. See, the fuel's already pulled away.
Very quick splash of fuel. Calvin Fish pointed out, they run negative camber at the left front, positive camber at the right front to stand that tire up under the G loadings in the turns.
So far, Tagliani dodging that bullet. A lot of laps going by. And so if he can go until Bruno pits, it will be like it never happened. And then he'll be back within whatever it is. However, whoever's run quicker will be ahead at that point.
And Bruno's just having a terrific run. Keeping his nose clean all day long. Got a couple close calls, but really it's paying off for him all day long.
Junqueira going by Mario Dominguez, I believe.
Actually, it's
Christian Fittipaldi. Wow, amazing to see Fittipaldi running around at the back like that. That makes him unofficially 13 laps down to the race leader. The kind of thing we expect from Fittipaldi. We'll take a break and be back with more from Motegi. Stay with us. Welcome back. Getting into the closing laps of the Bridgestone Potenza 500, round 3 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series for 2002. Glad to have you with us. Dozen or so laps remaining. Alex Tagliani has absolutely confounded our announce booth, I must say, by not taking a pit stop under an extended yellow flag just before the opening of the final 38 lap window that would have allowed him to get close to the end of this race without sacrificing the kind of racetrack you do making a green flag stop here at Motegi.
If they get to 190, which is only 3 laps from now, then Bruno has to come in, and all of our huffing and puffing histrionics is all for naught. So that's what he's hoping. It looks like he's running quick again. So for a few laps there, he looks like he dropped some speed. We'll see once Bruno stops and it evens out how much behind he is, and we'll know if he really was running quick or if he had fallen off for a few laps.
We'll try this at home, kids. We are trained professionals.
Really?
But even if that happens, I think you'll see guys reassessing their strategy, because the risk reward of what they've done is just staggering. And so it might work out, but I don't think it's probably your best. You run 10 races, you're going to have yellows in that 20-some lap period oftentimes.
Let's look at Adrian Fernandez, currently 6th, but as nice a guy as he is, that is a very hard-earned 6th. The way that car has been running all weekend, I think he'll admit that attrition has had a lot to do with him getting up there.
Attrition, and man, when that car's not working, this is the longest race imaginable. This thing will feel like 1,000 miles.
Because you're working so hard. Here's Bruno Junqueira. Our race leader is in the pits for the final time. Let's get down to Calvin Fish, who awaits him in the target pits.
Well, Bruno Junqueira makes that long trek down pit lane, hopefully for the very last time here today. We've got 10 laps to go in this one. He's going to be getting fresh tires. Tire conservation has been a factor here this weekend because they only had 8 sets of tires to work with. There should be no other changes on the car, just fresh tires, quick fill there, and he's underway. Great start for the Tiger team.
Now he comes behind Tora Takagi. We've seen this before. You made a good point a moment ago, TK, and that is that with the new kart rules this year, that is the story of the season. All of this experience up and down the pit lane, but with the new rules thrown at them, everybody is learning at every race.
That's right. It gets back to that strategery.
Dario Franchitti takes the race lead for the first time today.
And now by the time that Bruno, look at this, by the time Bruno gets up to speed, you will have Tagliani on the same lap, you will have Dario leading, you will have Fernandez on the same lap, you'll have Carpenti on the same lap. Now if you get a yellow now, all those guys are in the race. If you don't, they all have to stop on lap 196 or 197. Dario on 197. So if a yellow comes in now, you've got 6 guys on the lead lap for a shootout.
Exactly.
And these guys are hoping for a yellow right now.
Kara has played his card. Christian Fittipaldi once again, now 14 laps down. Oh, goodness. Alex Tagliani with the red accents on that predominantly blue and white player's paint job. Michel Jourdain just behind him. In position. At this point, he will almost certainly, Will Jourdain, break his career record for points in a season in just 3 races here in 2002.
He's doing a solid job. He's been struggling for the last, you got to realize this guy was only 19 when he did his first race. He's only 25 now. He's still got, now this is a very pivotal year. A good team with Rahal, a good opportunity, a great teammate to learn from. Whoa, shaving some hairs there.
Mendes and D'Amata.
So he needs to step up this year and show what he's got, and he's doing a great job.
Board with Franchitti.
With 4 to go, he will have to stop in the pits and they'll just wait on tires. They'll plug in the fuel, do a time stop, and then just wait on tires, drop the car as soon as the tires are done, and see where it shakes out. He'll probably be on a lap by himself, I think, once everybody has done their stops, if we don't get yellow.
Short enough to lose just 1 lap for the race leader.
Well, he'll still lose better part of 2, but he's almost a full lap ahead right now.
Right, exactly. He'll net 1 lap.
On his way by Tag's teammate, Patrick Carpentier.
Bottling up Bruno Junqueira right now.
Bruno's having a real heads-up race here today. You know, in the closing stages, you can also see how good Takagi's running. They came out together, Bruno and Takagi. Now he's a good 2.5 up on him.
Only 1 career victory for Bruno Junqueira as Franchitti heads for the pit lane. The last time a driver won from pole on an oval track was
Franchitti and Patrick both on their way in.
Kenny Brack did it at Milwaukee last year.
So you saw Bruno unlap himself there, and now he'll go around while this is going on.
Franchitti heads for the pit lane, and Derek Daly is standing by in the team green pits to call the stop.
Now it begins to unfold for Franchitti. He did not get the yellow he needed to stay on the same lap as Bruno Junqueira. So now it's as fast as you can go and see what happens.
Patrick Carpentier ahead of Franchitti as he makes his way back out. Junqueira has gone by to put them 1 lap down. There's Junqueira. On the backstretch, heading for turn 3.
Bruno's hustling it. And he and Tagliani will be on a lap by themselves. But I believe that race with Dario and Carpentier coming out of the pit lane, I believe that is for position right here. This is for position. Watch when they let go of the button. Well, I guess the button holds until...
Not quite yet. Now.
The button must hold until you push it again.
Yeah, it's latched. If you push it once and it latches, and you push it again, it comes undone.
Like cruise control.
Exactly. It is, and you hate it.
Now, this is a great view. This is a battle for position after 300 miles of racing. Cold tires.
Good point.
And no fuel conservation.
On the outside. Ooh, oh, Franchitti paid for it there.
Just got up a little too high. You saw. I mean, that's part of it. You got to get out there and really charge on these cold tires, but you get in a little deep, and you got to let the car come up. When you come up like that, you get up out of the groove and slide up.
White flag has waved over Bruno Junqueira, trying to become the first man to win on an oval track from pole in nearly a year in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Should he take the checkers, which he almost certainly will with 1 corner to go, it will be his 2nd career win, coming on the heels of his victory at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin last year. Checkered flags wave. Bruno Junqueira with Target Chip Ganassi Racing wins the Bridgestone Potenza 500.
And this is huge for Bruno, having 2 struggles this year, showing very, very fast speeds. This could be the turnaround for Bruno for the rest of the season.
And important to everyone in those grandstands, a Toyota wins the Honda race 2 weeks after a Honda won Toyota's race.
Tagliani was 2nd. I'm wondering how that battle resolved itself.
Since the beginning of back at Twin Ring Motegi, Bruno Junqueira has come through to win unofficially. Alex Tagliani finishes 2nd, Dario Franchitti 3rd. Here's Derek Daly.
Bruno Junqueira gets to celebrate. He points down to the Toyota sign. Look at this here, boys. What a great celebration scene for Bruno Junqueira. Bruno, get the helmet off there. Wow. Brian, help me with the helmet off here. What a mob scene here for Bruno Junqueira. Bruno, Yesterday, you said in qualifying, it was one of those magic laps. And today, you turned it into a victory. What a day.
Today was a magic race. What a tough race. What an incredible pace. Man, I think I left whole field. I don't know. The car was awesome. Toyota gave me a great engine for this. Reliable. Went to the finish. I'm really happy with my target crews. Everybody in the team worked really hard for the pre-season. Thank you, everybody.
Did you know that your teammate Kenny Brack went out with a mechanical problem? Was there any concern to you?
No, I don't know. Just try on the early race to be behind Trace and Tony. I knew that they were pushing too hard, and I was just waiting for them. Mid of the race, I saw that I could pass Tony. Then after they fall off, and that's a good thing. I think Toyota gave me a reliable engine, and I'm really happy to win here in Japan for them.
Bruno, do you know that yesterday when we spoke, you were out of breath, and you're out of breath again today?
That's unbelievable. I'm one of the happiest moments of my life.
Thank you, Bruno. Congratulations. Calvin?
Well, the players' team go crazy, and it's Alex Tagliani who takes a second-place finish here at Motegi. Great run today, Alex.
Yeah, I'm very happy for the players' team. We had a lot of problems in the first 2 days, but I think this team is strong this year, and my guys did a fantastic job in the pit stop. We work all weekend long, and I think the team deserved it. Ford engine was very good power, nothing behind, but you know, those are long race, and I'm really glad that everything lasts until the end.
When Bruno had his issues and he had to come back through pit lane again and make a stop, and you took the lead, did you think you had anything for him, or was that car of his, the number 4 machine, just too fast today?
Well, definitely his car was quick, honestly. But sometimes there's those issues on the track where you can be stuck behind a couple of guys. I lost, you know, 4/10 every lap behind traffic. That's an issue, but, you know, I think he deserved the win. He was really quick all weekend long. So, you know, we're pleased with the podium, and we'll continue to score points for the championship.
Great job, Tags.
Thank you.
Dario, I know hugs all around. It was a good day, really, and now you're the points leader.
Yeah, it was a fairly average day, actually. We came here with one objective, and that was to win the race, and we made a mistake in the strategy, put us a lap or 2 down, and we were fighting from then on. You know, the car wasn't bad, and the guys at Team Co Green did an awesome job. They had, I don't know how many stops we did, but there was a fair few. I came on the radio at one point because we didn't get a full load of fuel, and I gave the guys a hard time, but it wasn't their fault. It was a fuel probe problem. So, you know, I'm sorry for the guys at Honda because they worked so hard for this one, and I think they had the engine to do it. We just messed up the strategy.
When it goes wrong that early in the race, Dario, is it a frustration for you, or do you have to just refocus yourself not to get upset?
I was pretty wound up, but I was just attacking every lap. I was trying to make up any advantage I could because who knows what happens at the end, you know. So you just got to make up ground wherever you can, and that's what I was trying to do. But
tell me the points lead is a little consolation.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We'll keep that through the month of May, and then we'll come back to Milwaukee and try and win that one.
Thank you, Dario. Well done. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Here's a look at the unofficial final results. Bruno Junqueira picks up the 45th career win for Target Chip Ganassi Racing, second only to Newman Haas, and 62 victories among active kart teams. Alex Tagliani, go ahead,
Okay,
Scott.
what would you do if you were Dario going into Milwaukee? Would you go with the Lola, or would you go with the Reynard?
He has a lot of time to think about it.
He's got the month of May.
Here's a look at the points. As Derek mentioned, Dario Franchitti moves into the points lead by 2 over Michel Jourdain Jr. Alex Tagliani in 4th place. He matched his best career finish with a runner-up finish today. And rookie Mario Dominguez picks up his first championship points.
And on speed, we've gotten the habit of promising you the post-race festivities. Right after this, I'm being told we might have the falling on the sword ceremony. The official Harry Carey. MTV has celebrity death match. We have the falling on the sword.
Oh, hopefully in claymation.
This is awesome. What a great win for Bruno. This could turn things around. I don't know about you guys, but with this long entry and exit, it was a bit confusing at times.
Oh, yeah. Made, even us supposed experts trip over ourselves a little bit.
Here's the information on our next event, the weekend of June 2nd, the Miller Lite 250 from the Milwaukee Mile. Practice, kart Friday night, qualifying, single car, of course, and then the race itself on the Sunday.
A great day for Michel Jourdain, another top 5, and a great day for Oriol Servia.
Final thoughts, Tommy?
Well, how about Cristiano D'Amata? All the talk at the end of last year, offseason now, and Cristiano a total non-factor. They've got a month to stew on that.
Good race, good fun. We hope you enjoyed it. For Scott Pruitt, Tommy Kendall, Calvin Fish, and Derek Daly, I'm Bob Varsha. Sayonara for now.